my name is Miss Larche, and I'm one of the fourth grade teachers here at Savannah Lakes Elementary. So today we're going to be talking about writing essays in fourth grade and what that looks like. Okay, so the two types of essays our students write are a short constructed response or an extended constructed response. So I'm going to start by showing an example of what a short constructed response would look like, and then I'm going to show how that transitions into the beginning of our extended constructed response. Okay, so when we're talking about a short constructed response, we're only asking for 2 to 3 sentences. And when students are writing those 2 to 3 sentences, we tell them to use wrap. Okay, we tell them that they need to start by restating the question. They're going to answer the question, and then they have to prove that their answer is right by taking information directly from the text. Okay, so the example that I'm going to use is a question here that says, what does it mean to be trustworthy? So prior to us answering this question as a class, we read our text and we took time to annotate. And we tell students annotate just means to take notes, okay? And so that might include underlining, that might include circling, taking notes about, something we think is important on the side. So we would do that together, or they would do it independently. And then from there, they would go into answering the question, okay? So our question says, what does it mean to be trustworthy? So the first thing we would do is, again, restate the question. So I would say, being trustworthy means, okay, that's my restate. I took directly from what the question was asking and I added it to my answer, okay, to my short constructed response. So being trustworthy means the next part is answering the question, okay? So I'm going to say, let's see, based on the text, it says that a good friend is someone who is trustworthy. That means you can count on them to do something when they say they're going to do it. Okay, so I'm going to, for the answer, use my own idea of what trustworthy means, and then for the proof, I'm going to use the text to prove that my own understanding of what being trustworthy means is correct. Okay, so being trustworthy means being honest and dependable. Okay, so being trustworthy means being honest and dependable. And then the next part, so we've already restated, we've answered. Now we have to prove that our understanding of what trustworthy means is correct. And we're going to do that by pulling information directly from the text that supports what I said my answer is, okay? So I'm going to go back to my text. I said being trustworthy means being honest and dependable. So then I have to find evidence from the text that matches or supports what I said for my answer. So I'm going to say, the text says that means you can count on them to do something when they say they're going to do it. Okay, so being trustworthy means being honest and dependable. I know this because the text says, and then I teach students, we add quotes, and then we take our answer directly from the text, okay? So I know this because the text says that actually, we're going to use this sentence. A trustworthy person will show honesty to others. So I'm going to write that one instead. I feel like that sentence is a little bit better. It supports my answer better. Okay. So I know this because the text says a trustworthy person will show honesty to others. And then we always remind them to close their quotes, because sometimes they will open their quotes and then forget to add the quotation marks at the end. Okay. So I know this because the text says a trustworthy person will show honesty to others. Now, I would, tell them you can also add, the part about being dependable. So you can say the text also says, now granted, what we had at first would have been fine, but just to take it a step further, right? I would tell them, that they could add something from the text that shows that they're right about trustworthy, meaning to be dependable. Okay. So the text also says, a trustworthy person is someone you can count on. Okay, now, of course, I would teach them the difference between taking a direct quote versus paraphrasing, right? So, because I know I would have some kids that say, oh, well, you forgot the quotation marks. And I would tell them, well, this sentence right here is a direct quote. That means I copied it exactly how the text says. However, this is not a direct quote. The text doesn't say that exactly. I'm giving my own version of what the text says, so I don't need to put quotes. All I needed to say is the text also says, and that's showing that I'm using part of my own knowledge and what the text says to create my answer. Okay, so this would be sufficient for an SCR. Okay, so we restate it, and usually what I like to do with students is take different colored highlighters, okay, and I'll show them, okay, did you restate? Okay, highlight the part of the text that was or highlight the part of your answer that was your restate, okay? So they would go back and they would highlight being trustworthy means, okay? Oh, you can't really see it, but it's highlighted yellow, okay? Then I would tell them, okay, now highlight the part of the text. Let's see here. Let me just use green. Now highlight part of the text that shows your answer. Okay? So then they would go back and they'd say, oh, my answer was being honest and dependable. Then, of course, lastly, they go back and, okay, highlight the part of the text that is your proof, that you took directly from the text or that you also paraphrased from the text, or you gave your own idea. Okay, so that's when they would go back and highlight all of this. Okay, so that would be our short constructed response. Now, the reason why it's important for students to be strong in writing their short constructed response is because that's what I teach students to use for their claim or the opening of their extended constructed response. Okay, so I'm just going to give a quick example of what an extended constructed response kind of looks like, and then we'll do a whole nother video on that at a different time. Okay, so with an extended constructed response, they are expected to be able to have their claim, their central idea, right? That's like their answer to the prompt. So they'll be given a prompt, sort of like a question, right? And they'll have to answer the prompt. And we always tell them, like, okay, well, that's your claim. So this is where their SCR would go and start off their ECR. Okay, so for their claim, let's just say the prompt was about being trustworthy. So they could literally take their SCR, okay, and that is the claim or their first paragraph. Okay, then after that, they go into providing additional evidence to support their SCR, to support their claim. Then they go into their reasoning, okay, which is how they know that that's good evidence. And then they go into providing more evidence and then reasoning. And then at the end, they have their conclusion, okay? But again, that's a whole nother video, so we'll go into that at a later time. But right now, the most important thing is helping students build strong, short constructed responses, so then they really understand how to restate the prompt or the question, how to answer it, and then how to provide that text evidence to support their answer. That can be really challenging for them. So having them practice using RAP every single time that they answer a question, whether it's in math, whether it's in social studies, science, reading, whatever, having them use that kind of structure helps them give a more thorough answer, okay? Oh, and the last note, I always remind students not to include like the R, the A, and the P. They don't have to write the letter R. They don't have to write the letter P or the letter A, the letter P. They don't need any of that. All they have to do is write their answer out. Okay, I hope this video was helpful, and I look forward to filming the next one.